One shot. We're live. Okay, just go back here. Oops. And see, there we are. And see, there we are. And see, there we are. Where's the chat thing? I always have trouble finding it. Okay.
We're five. Hello.
Just trying to get hooked up here. Okay, why can't I?
Don't you swipe it up from the bottom?
Oh, shoot. There we go. Okay, got it. So Kathy's here. Hi, Kathy. Virginia's here. Catherine is here. And Laura is here. Okay, so we're getting a few people in. I need to adjust my chair a little bit. Okay, so we'll just give it another second or two. Today's drink is what? What is it?
Sort of strawberry daiquiri, but I didn't make it very thick. It's not like a slushy.
So we won't get a slushy rush. And hors d'oeuvre for today is cheese on a cracker. Ooh, how exotic.
Mainly because I was in a rush.
Okay, there we go. Let's, my thing wasn't working. Oh, Ilona's here. Hi, Ilona. Okay, so, well, let's get started with today. Well, let's start off with where we were last night. We were out for dinner at some friends of ours that live in a condo right in the heart of Toronto. They had some other people over there. Tomorrow on my vlog, I'll show you a little clip from what we had. We had a very nice dinner. I started with a soup. It was a potato and leek. And it was very, very good.
Yes, it was.
And then they had a pork loin.
Pork tenderloin with carrots and potatoes and broccoli.
But they were all roasted. But the pork itself had been encrusted.
It was encrusted. I think in crushed nuts, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it was very good. And as Walter said, it must have been a good piece of pork because it didn't taste piggy at all. Andrea's here. Hi, Andrea. Or Sudoku, but Sudiku. Yeah, that's how I say it. Anyways, yeah, so that was very nice, and the conversation was good. Of course, you always learn in these dinner parties that some people forget there is a world outside of Toronto, but that's okay. And these friends of ours are going in December and January to Australia, but they're doing 3 cruises back to back from Singapore. So what do? They go Singapore all the way down.
Singapore goes down to Indonesia and some of the islands there. I'm not sure. You listed them all off, but my head and
I don't know.
I couldn't picture them all on the map. Then they're going down the western coast of Australia, stopping in a couple of places and ending in Perth.
Hi, Cindy. Hi, Brenda.
And then the next cruise starts in Perth and goes around the bottom of Australia, goes to Kangaroo Island, Adelaide, Tasmania, Melbourne, and ends in Sydney. Yeah. And then the third cruise starts in Sydney and then goes back down to Tasmania, and then goes across the Tasman Sea to New Zealand and does the coastline of New Zealand, and they end up in Auckland.
Yeah. So it's 47 days?
I either said 42 or 47.
I thought it says 47, but either way, so it's 3 back-to-back cruises, and they're going on the cruise line, what's that one called?
Asmara, which is one above Celebrity.
Yeah. So
it's owned by the Royal Caribbean Corporation.
Yeah, it's a very nice cruise line.
Very nice, yeah.
And they've got a suite on there, so that'll be really quite kind of nice for them. Laura says my aunt and uncle did those cruises too. Yeah, we've never done Asmara.
Asmara, no.
No.
They're a little more expensive than Celebrity.
Yeah, and they're a smaller ship, aren't they? So less people. How many people would be on them? A couple of thousand, or
no? I don't think it's that many. I have to look again.
I
I think it's about 1,000 maybe.
Oh,
Maybe
so
800. I'm not sure.
certainly would be cozy. But anyways, we had a nice time there, and we didn't drive back from Toronto because we knew we'd be drinking. But then in their condo building, they have a couple of rooms that are like hotel rooms that you can rent out if you're there. So we'd already got them to set that up for us, and so we stayed in the condo building in what was essentially like a hotel room, and that worked out pretty good. It was cheaper than a hotel room.
Yeah, it was quite nice, and it had TV service and everything else.
Had had cable and the whole bit, and had
Even
a little
had a little
fridge.
fridge, yeah.
It had a little fridge, so that was good. So that was kind of nice. Laura says that her parent or aunt and uncle were gone for months, gone 4 months on theirs. But and Brenda says Clamato. Nope, Brenda. Strawberry daiquiri.
It is fresh, fresh California strawberries all ground up.
Ground. Yeah, Walter likes to grind things up. We could have had Caesars because we got the
No,
stuff
we
that-
don't have much left.
Oh, did we drink all that?
Almost, yeah.
Well, geez, we only had 2 glasses, and we didn't even. Those were virgin. We didn't have
Yeah.
any booze in them, so. Well,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was
know.
gonna get another bottle when I was at the grocery store, but then I forgot.
No. Well, anyways. So, anyways, that was what we did last night. So, what else has been happening this week? Well, the continuing saga of my mother. We met with the lady from the CCAC, the people who put you on the waiting list for a nursing home. And, of course, what did my mother do? I had told her, Mom, the woman's coming at 9 o'clock on Wednesday. Don't get all gussied up. I said, sit around in your house coat like you normally do. Don't worry about putting on some makeup because we don't want this woman to have anything that would suggest that you can manage on your own because we'll never get on the list. So what did my mother do?
Yeah, well,
She got gussied up. Well, she wasn't in her dressing gown for one thing, and I think she put on a little bit of makeup.
because she's all about appearances.
Yeah. So there she was sitting when the lady came
Well,
in.
it's only us that walk in, and she's like in her nightgown, and she's got no makeup on. So
Yeah. Hi, Maria. So, anyways, the woman did the interview. She was very nice. She was young, this one. And basically, I think we've got her on a waiting list. There's a couple little technicalities that have to be worked out yet. One, they have to have a medical report from her doctor, but they look after getting a hold of that. And then it has to be approved by each of the homes we put on. Well, I think that's just a, piece of paperwork, bureaucracy. Yeah. I don't think that will stop anything. So hopefully, we have her on the waiting list. Now, the only thing that we do have to do though is I have to get her to sign some more papers because one of the homes you get to pick 5. We had seen 4. We had them all prioritized, and that was great. Later on the same day that the CCAC lady came, Walter and I were scheduled to see this 5th home, which we'd heard good things about. For years we've heard good things about it.
That it has one of the longest waiting lists. So we figured that, it must be better than any of the other places. No.
And we put it as the 5th choice, mainly because of the length of the waiting list. So we went and had the tour. No. Lovely front foyer. They call it Main Street. It's all set up like there's a little community hall, they call it. They call it the town hall. They have a little cafe. They have a library. Then they took us up to the floor level. This is a private home. I mean, it's regulated by the government because they're all regulated by the government. But as a private home, they don't have as many staff usually because they're all about profit, whereas the government ones aren't so much. They're not for profit.
So they have more money to spend on other things.
So anyways, first thing, we can't get out of the elevator. It reminded me of a nursing home, what you think of in your brain, because they're all sitting in their lounge area, which wasn't that loungy, watching an old black and white movie, and they're in their wheelchairs and they're drooling. So, and this was supposed to be the regular area, not the ones that have a lot of issues. So that right off the bat did not impress me. I'm looking at the walls and things. Things have had a few wheelchairs run into them quite a few times.
Yeah, doors are all scratched up. The carpeting and the floor in the hallway, like of course, if somebody throws up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But It looked like it had a lot of stains in it.
Now, this place isn't that old. I think it opened in 2003.
Yeah.
And I swear it hasn't been decorated since 2003.
No, stuff hasn't been maintained,
And I looked at the floor in their dining room area, which was very stark looking. It wasn't very homey. It was more homely than anything else. And there's like juice, dried up juice. Well, I think it was juice. I don't know, on the floor in there from, well, I'm going to say, if I'm generous, it was from that day's breakfast. We were there after lunch or whatever. Maybe they hadn't got around to it yet.
not only that, what else was I thought was unusual? My mom was in a nursing home, so I sort of I know what went on in my mom's nursing home. So one thing I thought was really unusual is, if you didn't notice it, they had like racks and racks of like laundered clothes standing in the hallways.
Oh, I didn't miss
Yeah, like
that.
I mean, it was like all over the place, and it's like nobody was doing anything with it.
Well, that was the other thing. Hardly saw any help in the place. The woman who was taking us around, she was all about herself. Her mother is in a nursing home somewhere in London, Ontario. And she was talking to us about, oh yeah, when she goes to visit her mom, she takes her Great Danes with her. They're huge dogs. They love them. Blah, blah. Love it to see her dancing with one. It gets it so tall. It puts its paws on her shoulders and away it goes. And it was like, okay, what does that have to do
Well,
with
not only that, most of the
this?
like what else they didn't do is they didn't have any prearranged rooms available for us to see.
No.
And like I mean, we could sort of look in from the hallway type of thing, but it was whereas all the other tours that we had in all the other nursing homes had set them up at a time where it was easy to walk into a room and have a look at it.
Like not
right?
disturbing anybody because
Not
they weren't in their
disturbing
room.
anybody, right? And well, this one, it's like they didn't have a specified time. Like we had to book 3 weeks in advance.
Yeah, we
so you'd
booked
think-
3 weeks in advance for this
You
tour.
think that they'd have it organized in such a way that they could properly show you a room.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, when we did see the rooms, or what they have private and they have basic. The private, they're relatively good size, but they were a little stark in them as
Stark?
well. Now, of course, people come in and they do their own little decorating and stuff like that. Oh, another thing I just thought of that I noticed that they didn't have. All the other nursing homes we went to had those little enclosed glass cases where people could
Yeah,
have little
they didn't have
memorabilia.
that,
They
yeah.
didn't have any of that. You know, it didn't even have the name of the people who were in those rooms on the door. I
No,
don't
they
think.
did have
Did
them
they
on the
have
wall,
those
yeah.
there? But then we saw the basic room, or sorta. Well, the basic rooms and every place else we were in were basically 2 beds, but separated by a solid wall. You shared a common door to come into it. You shared a bathroom, but you had your own room basically with a curtain that went across the doorway there. In this place, all they had was one big room, the 2 beds, and they had a curtain down the middle of the room, and it was only a half curtain. It only came down to, to about 5 feet off the floor, like where it started and went to the ceiling.
Yeah, like it was sort of mesh on the top, right?
Yep. And the whole place, I didn't see a list of activities. I didn't hear about too many activities. We did see a physiotherapist supposedly doing some exercise with them, and she was really enthralled with her job.
Yeah.
She's saying to them all, the same group that were sitting in their chairs drooling, okay, if you want, put your foot out and give it a little turn to the left, to the right. I think there was one guy in there, and he wasn't in a wheelchair. He was sitting in it, and he was the only one that was really doing it. The rest of them are kind of like what's going on now?
And then and then I asked also about now after she's talking for days about her dogs, she says, "Well, has anybody got any other questions?"
Yes.
And actually, I was going to ask her a different question, and then she kept yakking.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay, you haven't had me a chance to ask me a question. So then I asked her if they have any outdoor areas. Well, not
No.
really.
They had a parking lot.
And it was sort of like, all the other places we went to had outdoor areas where somebody could go
With
outside.
gardens and things like
Yeah.
that, and they
Like
encouraged
even the
the
one that my
residents.
mom was in had a really nice courtyard where you could go out, and like most of the residents didn't go out on their own. But if you were visiting there, you could take your parent out there and stuff like that, and it's nice to sit outside on a nice sunny day.
Well,
Right?
one of the other ones actually encouraged them to bring their own lawn ornaments from home, and when they go out to do the gardening, they help them. They can
Yeah.
do some
Well,
gardening. And
They
I
did
don't know.
that at my mom's place
Yeah.
too. And what else they had, which I didn't see here, is a barbecue area where they can sometimes hold a barbecue and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Plus, they didn't have a great big room where they can do a function in.
No, they didn't seem to. And then she's talking about the gym area or the physio area and the hairdressing. Well, you see, they're sort of attached to a retirement residence as well. And it sounded to me like the two share the facilities because they said they had like 5 hairstylists full time in this salon, but we never saw the salon. We never saw the physio, whatever.
And they
did.
never showed us the tub room for where
Nope.
they bathed people.
I got a quick look peek, but I didn't see very well. It looked very much like the other ones that I could see, but no. So I was not really too impressed. So when I got home, I called up the CCAC worker, Crystal's her name, and I got her answering machine, which I pretty much figured I would because she's probably out and about doing whatever she's doing. So I just left a message that says, could you take Taunton Mills off the list, please, for my mother? We'll just leave the 4 instead of the 5 and leave them in the order because we saw Taunton Mills and we were not impressed. Well, she called me back within about a half hour. She got the message and said, oh, okay. Well, the way she said it, I thought, uh-oh, we got a problem. I thought it'd be simple. Just say, take it off. It's fine. You just saw my mother today. Apparently, well, she said, well, why? And I says, well, basically told her what we just told you about it. Says, so I don't want my mother going there. She would not be happy there. She says, well, okay. She says, so I'll have to send out to you a revised forms, and you'll have to get your mother to sign. And I said, well, I've got the power of attorney. Can I just sign for that? She says, no, it has to be her. I said, fine. Well, I said, well, can you just send it to me electronically? Like in this day and age, in the 21st century, everything's electronic. Fax it, even that's primitive. Send it by email, whatever. I'll get it signed, I'll send it back to you. I'll scan it in and bang, you go. Nope, can't be done like that. So I said, well, how about I come around to your office and I can pick it up? She said, well, I never know when I'm going to be there. Well, you've got a receptionist because I know where the CCAC office is. It's not like she's in one little cubicle or one little office.
Yeah, well, don't they have like a reception?
Yeah, they do.
Or something?
And I said, well, you just leave it. No, I'll pick it up, get it signed, bring it back in. No, she'll get her assistant to send it to me by snail mail. So that was Wednesday.
That's really stupid.
Yeah. So this is going to delay the process. But on the other hand,
you don't really want her in there.
I don't want her because it would be our luck that even though that one's got a long waiting list, that's the first one would come up first. And no, that would kill my mother. So anyways, what was good about the week was it looks like after these other little things are done, we will have her on the waiting list. It's still going to be 4 years minimum, I would say. I don't know, maybe something will open up sooner, but I doubt it. But anyways, that's one less worry, so that's a good thing. Now let's just see what's going on here. Maria's here, and Julie's here, and Anita's here. Hi to all. Left-handed crafter. Have you ever been here before? I don't recognize your handle. If you want to let me know what you'd like to be called, like besides left-handed crafter, first name. And if you want to just let us know where approximately you're from, the UK, Canada, US, Australia, wherever, what part of those you're at, that would be great. Let's see. Anita says it's nice when they have set up for gardening, yes, and outdoor activities. And Kathy says, glad you're such good advocates for your mother. Well, somebody has to be. It's funny because when my mother was being interviewed, I was trying to do my best not to interject. But I had already said to my mother, I kind of coached her in this, but she doesn't listen to me. I said, Mom, don't make things sound better and that you can cope better than you really are. I mean, I'm not asking you to lie, but tell the truth. But my mother has a way of saying to other people, oh, no, that's fine. I can do that. Like we're family. No, we don't get that. But strangers do.
Like your brother phones from BC and she makes sound like everything's still good.
Yeah, he hasn't got a clue. But so anyways, the lady was trying to test her memory, first of all. And she says, do you know what day and year it is? Well, my mother sort of knew the month, sort of knew the day, but she couldn't think of the year. And she kept looking over at me like I was going to give the answer. My mother was, no, perfect, perfect. Later on, but she made excuses. Well, I don't get out much, so sometimes the days just run together. Yeah, they do. And I'll have to be honest, there are times when I have to think again what the actual date is, because if you've been in the house doing stuff for a couple of days and didn't go out, or you didn't have anything scheduled, yeah, it's easy enough to, kind of forget, is it the 26th, is it the 27th? Then she asked if my mother remembered the date when my father passed away. She didn't remember that. And I said, well, Mom, I kind of helped. I said, it was the year especially. And I said, well, it was 2014, and I said it was April 30th, so tomorrow is the anniversary of my father's passing. But, and then she wanted to know if my mother had, like, kind of pain she had, if any, and that kind of stuff. And she asked, how many times would you say on average has she fallen, she saw that she has Lifeline, in the last couple of months? I said, oh, at least 8 to 10 times. I don't think it's been that many, but I wasn't going to say,
She goes in spurts. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, she falls down a whole bunch of times, and then other times.
Yeah, well,
she
knock
doesn't-
wood, don't say anything. She hasn't fallen in a bit of time, so knock wood.
Well, maybe it
Jinx it.
scared the crap out of her.
Well, maybe. But, and then she said, well, do you get out of breath when you're walking? Were you not paying attention, lady? There's a walker sitting right there. We've already discussed the fact that she has limited mobility, and now you're asking, oh yeah, when she runs a marathon down the hall, she gets out of breath.
There's some people that you see on the sidewalk, they can walk okay with a walker and then go long distances.
Yeah, well,
and they're just using it for stabilization, but your mother gets out of breath.
Yeah, well, my mother said she didn't. No, I don't. I says, Mom, that's why I interjected. I says, yes, you do. I said, you can't walk with that walker from where you're sitting right now to the door without saying to me, oh, I need to sit down. I would say, Mom, that means you're out of breath. So anyway, she goes, oh, well, I suppose. That's how my mother answers things. I suppose.
Well, I think also your mother does that because then she knows you're going to push her.
Yeah, whatever. But it doesn't matter. So explain to the lady, like, the whole problem, that my mother wasn't doing anything except watching TV, sitting on a couch, and her muscles are atrophying. And then the lady asked my mother, well, did you have any interests or things you used to do? And my mother goes, oh, well, I used to sew, and I used to knit, and I used to read. And I said to the woman, the emphasis here is on the word used to. I said, my mother used to do all those things, but she doesn't anymore. I said, all my mother does right now is sit and watch television. And, I wasn't letting anything go because that's the truth.
Yeah, and when her television dies, boy, you hear about that.
Oh, yeah. And then you have to run over there and unplug it and put it back together again. But anyways, so I thought, oh, if you jeopardize this, Mom. Well, I already told her. This is our last hope. I mean...
Well, you better hope that when they do call and say there's a room ready, that she doesn't turn it down.
She's going. If they say there's a room ready and it's out of our 4, which is supposed to be, it doesn't matter which one of the 4. They're all good. We've checked them out thoroughly, the whole bit. They are all good. And they would be good for her to be there. And I said this to the lady too. I said, the big problem is, there isn't anything the matter with my mother's brain, really. Yes, she's gotten a little bit more forgetful, I said. But the problem is she doesn't have any stimulus, except for the TV set. And then the woman said, well, what about social? Like, did you belong to organization? And my mother said, well, I used to go to church all the time, and I was very involved. And I said, yes, she did. But her church is in Whitby. She can't go there now. And I said, got her into a church out here. She didn't like it. I got this look from my mother when I said that. Like, it's what I call sphincter face, because she goes, meaning... Well, why are you saying that? My mother didn't want to go because first excuse was she didn't like the minister. The minister was a woman. So, and then the other one was, well, they have so many steps to get up. And at that time, she wasn't going by herself. I wasn't darkening the doors of the church. I told her this. I said, I will not go into a church. I'm sorry. You put me through that for most of my young life out of it all. And I don't believe in organized religion, and I think it's all a crock of shit. So, no, I'm a born again agnostic. And she doesn't like to hear that, but that's because it was ingrained in her. But friends of hers took her to the church, which was bad for them because they themselves were in fairly good shape, except one of them was blind. So the husband was blind. The wife had to look after him, make sure he wasn't stumbling over things and whatnot. And I felt really bad for them having doing this for them. They did it out of the generosity of their heart, and I really appreciate it. But then my mother just decided she wasn't going anymore, so that's fine. But that's a social outlet. She just doesn't meet people. But anyways, so bottom line is, I think I've got her on a list. I'm hoping, and we move on from there. And left-handed car says, no, I haven't. I'm a new subby. I'm in San Antonio. My name is Brandy. Okay, well, welcome, Brandy. And you said you were from
San Antonio.
San Antonio. Yeah. San Antonio, is that California? Or is that New Mexico? Or is it Texas? You got to tell me.
It's down there somewhere.
I don't know. I know it's somewhere down there. And Anita says 4-year wait list is still unreal. Yes, but that's thanks to our government and everything.
They won't build more, and they don't fund more.
Yeah.
And then
it's
now
Texas.
all of a sudden that there's election coming up, they're all promising new additional beds for.
Yeah, and we'll see how that works out with it. We definitely need them, but I mean the population is aging and aging rapidly. The baby boomers are all now at that age, and the whole.
Well, they keep saying they're going to fund more for people to stay at home type of thing, but that's no good for people like his mother. But she really needs to be in a place like that.
So they are looking into getting her a PSW to come in. I don't know how often, maybe once a week or something, to help her bathe. My mother doesn't. She only sponge baths and rightly so, because she would fall in the tub. And anyways, they're going to see about a PSW, but I don't know. But she says there's a bit of a waiting list. Well, isn't there a waiting list for everything? So fine, whatever. My mother can manage still with the sponge bathing until whenever we get this. What were you going to say?
Well, no, they were supposed to get her something to help her get in the tub, but then it didn't work in her bathroom. So.
No, it didn't fit in her bathroom. They did get that, but it didn't work. And I told the CCAC woman about it. But she was supposed to have notes from the occupational therapist about everything, and it sounded to me like she didn't have a complete set.
Or she was trying to verify what the occupational therapist said.
Maybe. I don't know. But anyways, we'll see what happens out of all of that. But that Taunton Mills place, no. Unconditional, no. Not happening. So anyways, that's been fun with that. So what else has been going on? Well, okay. Quilt time. I finished quilt number 5. The one that's the string quilt. I got it all quilted. And I had a little bit of a problem again with the binding. Getting it, but I did figure it out. So this one today I think might be...
I think it looks really good.
I think it's probably my best one. And it's all quilted now. Now I did walking foot quilting, so it's just straight lines, diagonal, and some wavy lines down on the other. And here's what the back looks like. The one problem I had was I had to put in this piece because I didn't have enough material. And if you looked at it real close, okay, what am I doing here? I'm trying to get it. If you looked at it real close on the black strip in the middle, you can see where my quilting doesn't finish right up because of the lines on the front of it. But it's not a big deal. Yes, high praise from Walter. If he likes it, then I know it's good.
I think it looks really nice.
Oh, well, how nice. Great. Well, when we open the quilt shop, because I'm going to have so many of these bloody things, I don't know what to do with them. And I'm working on quilt number 6. Now, this is the one that you saw before when it was pieced, which was leftovers from that other one. This is the one, the diamonds. Where's my quilting part?
That's fine.
Okay, so this is this one. It's not done. It hasn't been bound, and I'm still quilting it. But I'm being somewhat more elaborate on the quilting, and you probably can't see it in this first row. But it's all stitch in the ditch, as they call it, plus parallel lines, but I've made the lines so that, if you were to hold it up this way, the lines go the opposite way in each panel, so you get more of a zigzag effect. And I'm doing it in a variegated thread. Now the back is purple, sort of a mottled purple, but you can see some of the quilting. But I'm using a purple thread in my bobbin, so that it's not as obvious, but you can see it if you're up close to it. Loose one. It's going to take me some time, and I'm not absolutely sure if I'm going to do every square like this. I might do the far row or column in the same manner and do something different with the two inside ones. I don't know yet. It depends, because it's kind of boring doing these straight lines and stuff on it. When I mean boring, I mean in the time that it's taking me. And I've got another quilt on the go. It's another one made over leftover pieces, but I've just started it, and it's a little bit more elaborate. It's like a giant diamond, but double row kind of a thing. And yesterday, when we were in Toronto, I got a new book. And I'm going to talk about it tomorrow on the vlog in more detail, but it's a block a day, 365 blocks, one for every day of the year. But I bought it because it looks like a really good reference book for, all the traditional blocks and things, and shows you how to put them together. And it wasn't that expensive. It was $30, so I thought I might as well get it. What's being said here? Catherine says, Brandy says, beautiful. Thank you, Brandy. And Anita likes it too. Catherine likes it. And she says they get bigger and bigger. Yeah, they are. They're getting bigger and bigger, that's for sure. It looks really cool, says Maria. Ilona likes it. Julie says she likes it. And she also knows that they're getting bigger. And Laura says, I like the diamond one and purple. Yeah, they're coming. I'm still, learning. So, speaking of which, I go to Quilters Guild on Tuesday night. And that'll be the second time I've been there. And then they have another one. They have it once a month, but they don't have it in July and August. And it's the first Tuesday of every month. And I'm not a member yet, but I am going to join. But they recommended that I join at the startup of the new year, which is September. So it would make more sense, of course. More bang for your buck. So I think I will join, because I find them really interesting, as you know. And Brandon says, do you like the Guild? Yeah, I do, so far. I haven't got the nerve, though, yet. Maybe in the fall, to take one of my quilts in for show and tell. Because they've got some beautiful quilts. And some of those people have been quilting for like 30 years or whatever, kind of a thing in there. But they're very welcoming. They all seem to be okay with the fact that I'm a man. It doesn't bother them. In fact, I think it's a bit of a novelty for them. And a lot of people, I didn't know them, but they made me feel welcome. They'd come right up and say, hello, how are you? And when did you start quilting? And what are you doing? And all that kind of stuff. And they seemed genuinely interested in the process. So, yeah. And there's a friend of mine, a colleague. Actually, Laura, you know Patricia, of course, Patricia Coggio. Well, she's a quilter too. And she's been a quilter for years. And she goes to the Guild as well. So last time we sat together, and I just sent her an email to see if she was going this week coming up, and she is. So that's good. It's a face I know, kind of a thing. Okay, so anyways, that's about the quilting. So, fabric creation. Now you know that I've sent some of my designs to Spoonflower and had them made into fabric, and I've shown those to you. Well, when I went in last week, I guess it was last week or something, to pick up my serger at the Ultimate Sewing Store, the owner there, she had seen my bag, my blend bag, that I'd made with my own fabric, and she really liked the fabric. And when I told her, well, I designed it and then, had it made by Spoonflower, she said, you should send your designs to Northcott. Northcott is a publishing company, but they also have fabric and things like that. They're located in the U.S., but they also have an office here in Canada, actually in around the Toronto area. It's not far from us. She says, you should send them your designs because they're always looking for Canadian designers. And I thought, well, yeah, really? I don't know. But then I got thinking about it. So I have designed more fabric, and I did some research. I looked, Walter did too. We looked on Northcott's website and looked at what the fabric were that they're selling. And my designs are a little bit different than what they have on there because my designs are abstract. They're based on my art journaling. And I put them in, I scan them. I take them, I scan them, I put them in Photoshop, I manipulate them in Photoshop. And then I had Walter, I printed out about 20, 30 different designs in a binder, and I had Walter go through it and pick out 8 that he liked. And I figured I'm not impartial enough. It's my work. I like them all, right? But the reality is, it's not. It's got to. Someone has to look at it. Hasn't created it. So he picked out 8. I picked out a few more. I made a little one-page sample of all the designs, and I've sent it to Northcott. Now I did that on the weekend. Well, yesterday actually. Yesterday or Friday. Can't remember. I'm as bad as my mother. What day is it? Anyways, so I'll see if I get any kind of answer. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? They say no. Fine. I'm still going to have some of this.
Then you can still make it at Spoon Flower, and
Yeah.
you open it up to the public there too. So
Yeah, Spoon Flower. People have already on my one design, the very first one I ever did. I've got about 30 people have put it into their folder on Spoon Flower. Say it with money, people. Give me money. But apparently you can sell them, and I've got them up there for sale, so to speak. But I don't know how much you get from it. Like basically, I think you're just getting a commission as the designer because Spoon Flower's got to make money. They're not doing it for charity. So, anyways, so we'll see how that works out. I'm kind of excited about it, but there's a process, and I'm probably too much of an amateur for them to really consider this. Or it may not be something they figure that's marketable. Maybe those designs are, I don't know, too complicated to reproduce. I don't know. I mean, Spoon Flower did it. So we'll see. Okay. So now we get into some of the more meaty things this week. I went to a special meeting on Wednesday. I wish Walter had been there, but he had a... What were you doing? Oh, you were having dinner with...
I'm having dinner with the ex-stained glass people.
Yeah. I went to a meeting of the Durham Pride Committee. Now, this is a group that puts on the Gay Pride Parade here in our area every year. And 2 years ago in Toronto, at which would be the biggest Pride Parade in Canada, I think it might be almost
one of the biggest
ones
in North America. So
there's a group, and you probably have heard of them, and I think I've mentioned them before on here, called excuse me, Black Lives Matter. They basically stopped the parade in midstream, sat down so the parade couldn't continue because they were protesting that the cops were in the parade. There are gay cops, okay? The relationship between the gay community and the cops has had its ups and downs, but over the last couple of decades, it's gotten better and better and better. But they don't look at it that way. This is a group who consider what they call marginalized people. Marginalized people are minority groups, women, blacks. They're considered marginalized. Oh, the homeless, the people that live below on the poverty line, stuff like that. Those are called marginalized people according to this group. And they feel that the cops represent the system, and they are part of the reason why these people are marginalized. And as such, they don't feel that they should be in the parade at all. Now, they do make a concession. The concession is if they don't wear their uniform, they can be in the parade. I have a big problem with that. Well, that's Toronto. Out here in our area, same thing's happening. There's a group, I don't know if they're associated with Black Lives Matter, but I have a feeling they probably are, who are bombarding the Durham Pride Committee telling them that they can't have the cops in it, blah, blah, blah. So the Durham Pride Committee decided to have an open public forum at their board meeting last week to discuss this issue, to see what the community wanted. And they had it organized. When you went in, if you want to speak, you had to put your name down on a list. You were given a ticket, and that ticket had a number on it, and they just pulled them at random, and that was the order that people would speak, and you got 2 minutes. And they had an impartial person who was not part of the board or anything do the facilitating of this discussion. So there were people who stood up and said, basically, the marginalized, blah, blah, blah. I found out that apparently I am what you call a privileged, white, cisgendered male, and we're pigs, apparently. I guess what they mean by that is the fact that because I'm a white male, I'm privileged because I can have whatever I want in this world by the nature of the fact that it is a world that is dominated by white men. Okay, I take some issue with that, especially when I go downtown Toronto or out in the street and I'm beginning to wonder where all the white people have gone these days. I don't see a lot of people that look like me anymore. Oh, wait, isn't that what they bitch about? Anybody that comes from a not quite a white thing, don't they bitch about not being seen or represented in advertising, movies, the music industry, blah, 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 blah? Oh, okay, whatever. I did not speak at this meeting because I figured I just there to observe, to hear what they were going to say, and to support those that were going to stand up and actually speak, to say, yes, the cops should be in the parade if they want to be, and they can wear their uniforms if they want to. Because as far as I'm concerned, the Durham Regional Police Force has been nothing but supportive to the gay community in our area, to the point where they actually have a car that is in the rainbow colors, and it's not just for Pride Week, they have it all year round. And they have always sponsored, right from the day one, the gay pride prom for the kids, for the high school kids that are graduating. They sponsor it, they give money to it, and they give all kinds of door prizes and everything. I was at the first one with it. So they've done lots of things. One lady got up and said that if it hadn't been for the Durham Regional Cops, she didn't know what was going to happen. She has a transgendered child. And this child, I guess, got a co-op placement with the Durham Regional Cops. And they had no problem with the fact that her child, and I'm saying child because I don't know the sex of the child or what sex they identify with, she didn't say, were very supportive of the whole transgender idea. So really, these people deserve, and there's lots of cops on the force that are gay too. But anyways, the debate went on. The ones that were debating for not having the cops there were not particularly coherent. They just kept using the term marginalized, all this stuff. And you know, if you cut through some of their lingo, I think the point they were making was, and they kept using the word systemic all the time, meaning it's from the system, that the cops represent the powers that be, and the powers that be are not doing enough for marginalized people. Well, you want to know something? I think I can see the point of that, but do you need to do it in a pride parade? Your issue, that's a small potatoes. If you really think that there's a problem with this, shouldn't you go to the source of the problem? If you think it's systemic, then go to the government. Make your protest there. Make your voice heard there. Pride Parade only happens once a year. Anybody on the street watching the Pride Parade, whether there's cops in it or no cops in it, they don't know, they don't care. If they're not part of the community, they don't know about this debate that's going on. They really don't care. So I think basically if they're trying to get their word out there, then go to the source. The Pride Parade is not that. So I figured, though, that the board would give in. Well, apparently they didn't. They made a decision that night after the public forum was over, and so only the members that were there were the board members. And they voted, and they said, no, the cops can march in the parade. Well, good for them. they've got more guts than the ones in Toronto had. The ones in Toronto still aren't letting the cops in, and they're gutless, completely gutless about stuff. They're allowing their parade to be hijacked by the agenda of a misplaced agenda, basically. So I think that's good. In fact, I debated whether I would even go this year if they weren't letting the cops in. But they are, so I'm going. But I have a feeling it could be interesting because they're not done. I'll bet you they're going to pull what Black Lives Matter did 2 years ago in Toronto. I'll bet you they'll try to disrupt the parade. Well, the thing is, the parade isn't that big. It's nowhere
Parade's
near as
usually
big
only
as
a block long.
It's only about a block long. In fact, the whole thing was on a sidewalk last year.
I was going to say, if the cops weren't in it,
there wouldn't be any parade. There'd be nobody in it.
Maybe the board figured that.
Yeah, maybe. So anyways, it'll be interesting to see what they do at that. But, you know, I don't think by excluding the cops you're necessarily making situation better if there is a problem between cops and the LGBT community. And I don't think there's a problem anywhere in our country, anyways, between, or at least in Ontario, between the cops and LGBTQ community. There may be individuals within that have a problem, but there's always going to be that. But generally,
however, the police in Ontario are unionized as well, and the union takes issue with anybody that discriminates.
Yeah, and Brenda says all lives matter. Exactly. Exactly. But the people that were speaking at this meeting too were young. They're in their 20s something. Quite frankly, and this may be coming because I'm an old fart now, but you know, like they always say, youth is wasted on the young, kind of a thing. You only as time goes on do you get a little bit wiser about stuff, or you should get a little wiser. And these ones think they have all the bloody answers to all of this stuff, and it's got to be their way. And they were rude too. One, they couldn't speak. The grammar that came out of their mouths in a public forum when you're standing up to speak in front of a crowd was atrocious. They were doing it off the top of their head, which meant it went around in circles, it wasn't organized. And there were two that came in when the meeting had just got it started and the first speaker had gotten up to speak, and they're making all this noise. And people are looking at them, the older people, like, there's a meeting going on here, you're late, stop being so... And never fazed them. Nothing through their head. I was tempted, but I figured that wasn't going to... They wanted to keep the mood respectful. They want to keep it controlled. So I just figured if I turn around and said, "Why don't you shut your goddamn mouths, assholes?" I think would have not gone over very well in trying to keep that mood. So I bit my tongue. I said nothing. I said nothing. I was just a fly on the wall observing. That's all. So what do we got here saying? Anita says, good for them for taking a stand. And Brandy says they still have some living to go to understand how it really works. And that's right. And yeah, okay, I get it. When I was in my 20s, when we were in our 20s, we were a couple of pricks too at times.
Obnoxious.
We were obnoxious. Yeah, we were obnoxious. Believe it or not, we were obnoxious. I mean, I'm not very proud of some of the things that I did when I was that age in terms of how I treated, older people. Like, ugh, you old farts don't know anything, and all that kind of thing. And now I am an old fart, and I know a lot, so whatever. So that was kind of interesting this week. Well, now, is Mel on? I haven't seen Mel. She hasn't come on today. Mel, as y'all know, we call her Mel, lives in Finland, and she wrote a message, a comment on last week's, actually on my vlog on Monday, which I had done a part, if you haven't seen the vlog, remember last week we were talking about the Celebrate Women, A Room of Her Own, all that stuff with chapters and blah, blah, which, by the way, I have not had any more emails from them. They've written me off as a nut bar, and I kind of figured they would. Anyways, I continued the discussion by talking about manners and how some women expect you to hold a door open for them, but they don't hold it open for you. Little things like that. Because, my way of thinking, I hold the door open for a woman, not because she's a woman, I hold it open for a man, too. If I get to the door first going into a public area, there's somebody right behind me, I hold the door open because that's the way I was raised to do it. That's just polite manners. But there are some women who don't do that, or ones who stand there at the door. I love
And
these
wait for
ones.
you to.
I love these ones because I'll purposely be a pig. They're standing there waiting for you to open the door. They don't have anything in their arms. Their legs aren't broken. They're all in perfectly good shape. They're not decrepit in a wheelchair, anything like that. I just open the door and go through. And the looks I get, oh no, excuse me. You were actually at the door first. You could have held the door open for me in there. Same like at elevators. I mentioned that too. The old etiquette was, if there's a lady in the elevator, you let the ladies out first. Well, I've had many times I've been in an elevator and there's a woman at the back and she just bails her way right through everybody, expecting us, because we're men, to stand and wait for her. No, logic says if you're at the back, wait your turn, because everybody wants to get out. It's just a little bit more, closest to the door, out first kind of a thing. Makes things easier.
All right.
But anyways, Mel wrote this in response to this kind of thing. Another great vlog, thanks. I agree what you said about that women first thinking. Never understood why women should be treated differently in any situation, except that women should have the same salary from the same work as men. Yeah, I agree. But you can see a lot of this kind of classification also in crafting products. There are lots of pink, etc., pastel colored tools, and that's usually the reason I don't buy them. Same if you go to a hardware store. Cute and small pink hammers, screwdrivers, and other tools for women. Oh shit, sorry. I just want to buy good tools without any stupid gender-related thinking behind the basic everyday products. Really nice that your sewing shop gave you that special mug as a gift. It's so good that our language has no grammatical genders at all, so we do not face such problems with text. What she means is there was a mug at the Ultimate Sewing store, and it said, she said, and she does this and she does that about quilting and things. And I made a joke about it in the store saying, okay, and where are the ones that say he says? Well, one of the women in there found a cup that says he says online. She bought it and she gave it to me as a bit of a joke, as a gift on the whole thing. All in good humor and that kind of thing. So that's what she's referring to. But she's also referring to the fact that she's in Finland, and I guess Finnish language doesn't have gender in their language for things. We have he, she, and it, whatever. But they don't. So that's interesting, because that probably stops a lot of issues right there.
Mm-hmm.
Only downside of genderless language is that when speaking, writing English, I sometimes accidentally call someone she instead of he, and vice versa, she said. So I thought that was kind of an interesting comment on the whole thing, and there were some other people that reached out to me as well and said that they found that what I said was actually true. So I'm not just making it up and trying to be a male chauvinist pig. I mean, it's just manners, I guess. But anyways, I thought I'd read that to you. And so let's just see here. There's some discussion going on. Brenda says, donate to the United Negro Fund. No problem, but donate to the United White Fund. That does exist, and I'm a racist. She says, yeah. And I suppose if you were to donate to something like that, well, what would be the white equivalent? The white supremacists? I don't know, neo-Nazis? That's what they'd probably say about it. The difference between your 20 and their 20 is the 20-year difference. Times, acceptance, training, life, technology, social media, etc. Yep, it's true. Times are different for 20-year-olds than they were when I was 20 years old. Marie says, I hold the door open for anyone, but what really gets me is hardly anyone actually says thank you nowadays. That's true, too. They just expect it. They just barrel right through.
I always say thank you if somebody does that.
Yeah, I always say thank you for it as well, too. Actually, I've noticed lately that more people hold the door open for me, and I think that's because they think I'm old and decrepit. Oh, well, whatever way works. Julie says I'm a wheelchair user, and hardly anyone opens the door for me. Well, that's nuts. If I see somebody in a walker with a cane, wheelchair.
I'll tell you something, though. One time, I held the door open for somebody in a wheelchair, and they yelled at me.
Why?
They yelled at me because I was treating them differently than anybody else, and that they were fully capable of opening the door themselves. So it made me scared sometimes to do that.
Actually, that's a really good point. Because I have seen, I don't think I've ever been in this situation, but I have seen someone offer to help somebody out with something, and they've been given this, no, I can do it myself. Okay, I get it. I know, Julie, you can probably say more about this because from your experience. But I can see the point that those people don't want to be treated any differently than anybody else. That's, they're trying to be independent and the whole bit. So I get that. But wouldn't it be better if you might think that in your head, but say, oh, well, thank you very much for your help, and just move on.
I mean, lots of short little ladies ask me to take stuff off the top shelf in the grocery store.
Yeah, so.
I mean, if I saw somebody trying to reach up and jump before.
Yeah, and Anita says, I help everyone I can, just trying to be thoughtful. I do say thank you if someone does something nice for me. Yeah, well, that's just good manners. And what's happened to manners in our society? And the other thing, too, what they do is to avoid that, they won't make eye contact with you. Why? Because this is these things. They're walking through the door and it's as though you don't exist.
Yeah, actually, there was a place I worked and they had, you could take a break in the afternoon if you wanted to. And there were a young couple that went downstairs and took a break all the time. And all they would do is, instead of actually talk to each other, they'd sit and text. And one of the ladies I worked with turned around and said to them, well, you could have done that at your desk. You didn't have to come down here to do it.
Yeah, well, I don't get it. It's the new technology. But anyways, that's just, I thought, the whole thing with the gender business, I don't think it's getting any better. You would think at this point in time it would.
Yeah,
yes, I agree that women are still being discriminated against in the corporate world, in politics, the whole bit. Yes, I think that's definitely there, and that hasn't changed. And I don't know.
I think it's going to take a lot longer for it to change.
And it's not right, and it's not acceptable.
Because there's still people that have old ideas.
And Julie says, that is the problem. I get that, Walter, but most people just do not seem to care. Yes, I have heard people in wheelchairs say things to you like that, but really it would be most appreciated. And Anita says, laugh out loud, Walter. I'm 5'4". Everything is out of my reach on the top shelf at the grocery. I'm with that club too. I'm less than 5'6". So, yeah.
Well, I'm not that tall, but I'm tall enough.
Well, you're taller than me, so
I can reach the top shelf. So
yeah. And Marie says, snap, Cherry. I too am vertically challenged. Yeah, lots of us that way. So, anyways, that was interesting. So, I encourage people, if you write something as a comment to one of my blogs or to our live or whatever, I would love to read them out, because not everybody reads all the comments that are below, and when you get some interesting ones, that kind of thing. So, and again, still looking for more people of interest. Don't forget about that. So, what's newsworthy? Well, I think you probably heard about the van attack in Toronto. The nut job who decided to get in a rented van, drive on down a sidewalk, and he killed 10 people and put in the hospital 15 more. Out of that, and I'm not sure what the latest count is on the deaths either, because some of those people are in critical condition.
It's down to 10, but there's still apparently 5 people that are in critical condition in the hospital.
And in fact, this kind of carries on with what I was saying about this whole thing with women and whatnot, is that he was somebody who posted on this site on Facebook called Incel, which is basically a bunch of guys who aren't getting any action from women that they're trying to hit on, and so they are forced into, they say, celibacy.
Involuntary celibacy. But they're all really, really young people.
And they blame women for everything. And so this guy apparently, now I don't know how much of a connection.
I don't know how much of it is true, because the police are still trying to figure out
what his motives were.
What his motives are, and I'm sure they have more insight and stuff like that, but it's not. I'm sure that they can't really say, because of it may cause a problem with the trial or whatever that
maybe
come up. I don't know. I just think that they did announce that it was not a terrorist thing, right? Pretty close to the beginning, and even though some newscasts automatically figured it was a terrorist thing.
Yeah, well, the American news stations immediately were screaming terrorism, and the guy's just a nut job. He had a lot of issues apparently as well, but he wanted to die. He wanted suicide by cop, because he did not have a gun. The cop that took him down, who everybody is praising because he did not shoot first, ask questions later. He was very calm with it, and the guy kept saying to him, shoot me, shoot me, shoot me. But he did run down a whole lot of women. Out of those 10 that died,
8 were women.
8 were women.
And 3 of them were elderly women.
But the thing was, I don't think that I don't think they were targeted. They were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, because he did take out some men too. But he was going just indiscriminately. It wasn't like he was slowing down, aiming, and then speeding up and getting them. He was just wiping out whoever was in his path on the street. And it happened to be that the ones he hit, there was a higher number of women. But the news now is trying to twist it. They're trying to bring in this incel thing, and
But I don't know. But see, it's all hearsay, so you don't really know the truth. So.
no.
And you won't for a long time, and who knows, you may never find out the truth.
And Virginia says, the Toronto attack was horrible. I was wondering if you saw more law enforcement out when you went into Toronto. Well, we didn't go very far yesterday when we were in Toronto, because we just went in for dinner. So
area. We didn't really notice any more law enforcement than normal. Maybe at a special event, I think they said they had more.
They put up more barriers, like those concrete barriers that keeps cars from getting into certain areas.
Because this wasn't really a terror attack. This was somebody that was unstable, or whatever, that did this. So it wasn't really technically a terror attack. It's not like ISIS or something like that did this.
Julie says, when did this take place? It happened Monday, this past Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It's all that's been on the Canadian news.
Yeah.
For sure, for the whole week. I mean, this is not something that's ever happened in Canada before.
It's never happened.
No, and they're claiming this is well, I don't know if it's. How many women were killed in that thing in Montreal?
Well, there was a shooting in Montreal, but I can't remember how many people were killed in there.
I think
that was against women as well.
Yeah, that one was that was definitely against women for sure. They knew that with the guy.
They haven't quite determined whether this was against women yet, or if he just suddenly lost it and.
Yeah, well,
did this or whatever, I don't know.
And they were saying that when he was in high school, he was a loner, and they considered him a weirdo and all that stuff. And then there's some talk that he may be autistic, and I don't know. Like, just because you're autistic doesn't mean you rent a van to mow down people. So
I mean, there's lots of autistic people around, so
they're trying to figure it out. That's the thing. And I don't think they're ever going to figure it out, because the guy is just a lunatic. But the one thing which is, well, good, in that he's not dead. They got him. And the cop that kept his head on his shoulders didn't just pull the trigger and blast him out of the way. And that would have happened. I mean, a few years ago, there was an incident with a young guy with a knife on a transit bus, and a whole bunch of cops there. And one cop decided, when the kid wasn't dropping the knife, but he was far from him, he shot him. Not once, 9 times. Like, really. And that cop's still in court over that one or whatever.
He's in jail now.
Is he in jail? Yeah, well, good. As he should have been. But, and Marie says she hopes he suffers. Yeah. Well, he's going to get a big hairy boyfriend named Bubba. Yeah, in the prison too. And, well, whatever with him. I suspect that they probably have him on suicide watch as well. Although I don't think he had the guts to do that. He wanted someone to shoot him. So I don't know.
It's not really great to have to kill a pile of people just because you want to be.
Yeah. Well, Laura says in the one for the Montreal shooting, she says there's more than 14. Yeah, I thought it was like 15 or something, but it might have been more than that.
That was quite a while ago.
And she says, which prompted Women's Day on December 6th, which is when they killed them. And Laura also says about this guy in the van attack, he had Asperger's. Posted the incel with the chat theory, with the Chad theory was on his Facebook.
Yeah, they call incel, they call the guys, they say that women only go after guys that are really hunky. So they nickname the guys that are really hunky Chads.
And then the women who go after Stacy's or something. I don't know.
And
it sounds stupid.
It's supposedly the guy that started one of the groups was interviewed and said that it was really the group was really only started as a discussion about people having problem dating women. So
Well,
that's what he says.
it sounds nuts. But anyways, so that's a terrible thing. I mean, and the people that he wiped out too, it ranged in age from what?
There's one lady that was 94 or something.
Yeah.
And then there was two in their 80s, two women in their 80s. I mean, poor ladies, they've lived almost all their
Yeah, like
almost 100.
survived up to this, and then
they were actually good enough that they were out walking on the street, and then this guy idiot comes by and kills them.
Yeah, Brenda says, "I'm getting hungry. What's for supper? Chicken." Walter's doing a roast chicken. Yep. So moving on, Van Attack. That kind of led into this whole thing about the fake news again. And you know, we've heard a lot about fake news because of Trump and the whole bit. But you know, there is something to that if you talk about what the technical term is spin on the news. Like this thing with this guy on the van.
Like I was reading that. Well, one of the things that they said right off the bat with the Toronto police and stuff like that was that this man was not known to police, meaning he didn't have any previous record or anything like that. So he was not known to police. But CNN suddenly reported the same day that this guy was a terrorist and he was known to police, meaning that he did have a record with police. And that was incorrect.
Yeah.
And so depending on like these newscasts, they suddenly get a news story, and because they don't have enough to fill it in, they start making up stories to fill in with it.
Yeah, and that's called spin.
That's spin.
And that's what fake news is. So maybe Trump isn't that far off, hate to say it, but about the news, but you can't trust the news.
You can't always, you can't take the news necessarily for face value, it also has opinions of the people that are doing the editorial or whatever. It has their opinions in there.
Yeah, they're not biased, or they're not unbiased.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be, but they're not. And they go for a spin. Like, actually, you could see this being worked out with City TV News, which was that I watch, and when they talked about the van attack. So they sat down and figured out what angles they were going to take about this van attack. So one of them was, okay, he rented a van from Ryder. They were going to they were spinning it around to find out how easy it is to rent a van. All you need is a driver license and to show that and a credit card, kind of a thing. Then they did another spin where they want to talk about the barriers that were already up in certain public areas in Toronto to keep cars out of that area, and would there be an increase in those now? They find all this stuff. How it affects your children in school and how to talk to them about something like this. Okay. Don't let them watch the news if they're little kids and see this kind of stuff. But, you know, like they grasp at straws to put together a news story, and then they spend a whole hour with all these different ways of looking at it and putting it together. So by then, the truth, if there is any truth, is hidden by it all. I know. I used to teach media. So I used to teach kids about that. Luna's here. Lana's here. Sorry, Luna. Lana is here. Hi, Lana. And I'm just looking up here. Laura says, well, CNN does it. I don't think others do.
I think they all do.
I think they all do it to a certain extent, but some are more so than others.
Well, only thing I can remember, and it's maybe part of my pissing off segment, because when in 1995, I was part of a union, and we had voted to go on strike. So we were on strike. So this was a newsworthy event. And we were on strike for about 5 weeks, and it was a big strike because it affected affected all the government workers in Ontario. So, but we would know what it was like to picket and to be on strike, and would know what was going on during that period. Well, the newscast would pick it up and spin it a completely different way. And say, well, these people are looking for wages, or these people are looking for this, and it wasn't true. We were trying to keep the benefits that we were having and all this other stuff. And every night I would hear something totally different. that the news would be saying about us being on strike, and it wasn't just this newscast, it was that every kind of newscast, and they would make up stuff that it wasn't true.
Well, they did that with all the teacher
Right.
strikes and things like that too.
That was one thing. So ever since then, I have been very wary about listening to what news has to say, and sometimes read between the lines as to what they are saying. And actually, do I believe everything they say? No, I don't believe everything they say. But I mean, there's got to be truth to a certain amount of it.
Well, there's always a grain of truth, but it's what they do with the grain. And in fact, that's what.
And I think that also goes back to, let's say, the early gay pride parades. The early gay pride parades, everybody would pick on the people that were dressed funny, the guys that were dressed in women's clothes. They would, when the AIDS thing started and stuff like that, they'd say, oh, well, there's all these, despite of the AIDS crisis, there's these people walking on the street doing this parade. And then they'd point out, they'd focus on the people who were dressed outrageous and say, look at all these freaks out on the road. So everybody later on says, well, all these gay people are freaks, right? And because this is what they saw on the news.
Yeah, well, Anita says, she's quoting Emily Dickinson, tell the truth, but tell it slant. And what I used to tell the kids in my media class, if it bleeds, it leads. That's because they're there to try and sell their product. I mean, the news is nothing more than a corporation. They have sponsors. If you're going to attract sponsors, you have to be able to show them that you're attracting an audience so that you can charge them big money for the commercials that come on there. So how are you going to attract an audience? Well, sadly, none of us will tune into something that's good news. They only put on there the stuff that that's horrendous, stuff that'll attract us. I mean, why do we go to horror movies? You know, not everybody likes horror movies, but you know, the point that I'm making is that what attracts an audience? Well, little girl down the street just got brand new shoes, and they're really shiny and she loves them, is not going to attract you like little girl down the street just got run over by a white van and is schmucked all over the sidewalk. Which one are you going to watch the news for? You know, it says something about us as a human race, but... Anyways, so you can't trust the news.
But you have to trust it a certain amount. So.
Well, you have to be able to, that's why we should teach media in school, to show the kids how to pick through, to find what is true and what isn't true. As best
it's sort of like commercials. Do you believe everything that a product is advertised to do?
My mother does.
Actually does it. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if they advertise Boost, and they say it's a meal replacement, is that actually a fact? Is that true?
No.
Or is it?
My mother does. In fact, the CCAC woman that was there, I said to her she asked about Mom getting her meals and things like that, and I said, well, she's able to do some things, but a lot of times she depends upon drinking a lot of Boost because she thinks that's a meal replacement because they tell you that. And I said, it's full of chemicals and sugar. And the woman, which I could have kicked this CCA's person right between the eyes at that point because she turned around and said, well, yeah, it's, it's not that bad for people. It's okay. I said, excuse me? The thing is full of sugar and chemicals. Read the side of the bottle. But I guess it's better than her not eating anything. Keeps her going, I guess. But anyways. So, moving on then, away from the news of the day. And anything else eating you?
No, that was that. Oh, this is really minor and totally off topic. But is resealable bags that you get like with your shredded cheese or meat products, and how come they never reseal?
I have no idea, but I never get them to reseal.
No, I always have a hard time with them. Anyway, that's sort of totally off topic.
Okay.
But
let's write a letter.
Yeah.
We think your bags are horrible. Why don't you? And he says, sorry, hit the wrong keys. Okay. Not sure what that's about. Well, there was a thing here that said
Does
message
it spell
retracted.
something obscene?
No, there's a message retracted, but then Anita says she hit the wrong key, so. Oh well, not a problem. Okay, so let's change the topic. What are we watching on TV? Okay, we just started watching a strange little science fiction kind of thing called Altered Carbon on Netflix. Basically, people are able to have their personalities, memories, brain downloaded
A chip.
into a chip, kind of a thing that can be reimplanted into what they call not skins,
They call
sheaths, sleeves,
sleeves.
sleeves. They call it
are
sleeves.
basically a body.
Another person's body, kind of a thing, and they can live then to be like hundreds of years old, but they have different bodies all the time and stuff like that. But there's some mystery around a murder or something like this.
It's kind of interesting.
It's kind of interesting. It takes a bit of time to start to grow on you. And tonight on Bravo, they have the premiere of the second season of The Handmaid's Tale, and that's based on a very famous book by Canadian author Margaret Atwood. So those of you that aren't Canadian, you might not know what it is, although I know that it's got quite a following, at least the series does, in the States, because I've heard some people talk about it. And it's pretty good. So we'll see that right tonight, that one. And we watched a really strange movie called The Killing of a Sacred Deer. It's bizarre, but it's got
Weird.
Nicole Kidman in it. It's got Colin, what's his name? Farrell.
Firth?
Is it Colin Firth?
No.
Yeah, it's not Farrell. It's Colin Firth.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, the Irish actor.
Yeah.
In it, and it's really bizarre. So
Very strange.
if you see it,
Actually, I read an article on it that Kidman said that that's the strangest movie she's ever worked on.
yeah. And Laura says you should watch Black Mirror. We do. We have.
Yeah,
We've seen all the seasons of Black Mirror. I really like Black Mirror.
It's really twisted too.
Yeah. Now, speaking of twisted and weird, I don't usually say things about other YouTubers, but someone last week recommended checking out Mr. Domestic on YouTube. So I did. He's a guy who's into English paper piecing and into fabrics and all kinds of stuff. He's definitely gay. There's no two ways about it. And he's not all there. He actually
It's a really weird personality.
He's got a really weird laugh and personality, and he kind of looks into the camera like this, and he just designed a fabric line or something, and he got the samples back, and he was all excited about this, and he's going, "Oh, these are really beautiful! I can't stop! I'm sorry! I'm so excited! And he goes like that, and you go, whoa, okay, just goes to show you anybody can get on YouTube. So, if you want a good laugh, check out Mr. Domestic. And if you like
the stuff he's done is nice.
Yeah, it's nice and everything, but he's just really weird.
He has a really strange personality.
Yeah, it's definitely entertaining. So, I recommend if you want a good laugh and possibly learn something about English paper piecing, he might be the guy to go to. And I'm reading a new book right now called Mortal Engines by Philip Reeve. They've made it into a movie. It's a series of books. It takes place thousands of years in the future, and cities and towns are now nomadic, meaning that they have taken them and put them on gigantic tractor-like vehicles that are huge. That'll hold a whole city on them, and they travel around the planet, and they attack each other. The big cities try to devour, actually eat, the little cities. They catch them up, they call them prey, and they get them and they strip them of all of their metals and things like that, and any of their stuff that they have, so they can keep their city going. Well, the main city in this one is London. So London, the whole of the city of London, is on this giant moving tractor kind of a thing. And the movie looks really interesting. I'm not sure when it comes out.
It's in the fall.
It's in the fall. But I decided to read the book. Now, there's a series, as I said. I'm just reading the first one, and it's called Mortal Engines. But actually, so far, I kind of like the book. And then speaking of other books, I just downloaded today, bought a book by a friend of mine. This is a friend that I've had since I was a little kid, childhood friend. And she just finally got her first book published, and it's called Escape from Shambles County. And it's a humor book, and that kind of thing. Now, I haven't even started reading it yet because I just downloaded it this afternoon, just found out that she finally got it published. and that kind of thing. So I'll let you know what it is, but I think it's the first time that I actually know somebody who wrote a book. So, something I always thought that I might like to do, but never had the discipline for it. So, I'm looking forward to reading that. What's cooking? Chicken, as we already said. Chicken. Doing anything special to your chicken?
No, not really. Just roast chicken.
Just boring old roast chicken. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So, what's coming up? Next weekend, next Sunday we'll be on an hour later because it is my monthly art journal class that I teach, and it runs until almost 4 o'clock. So we'll be on, by the time I get home, at 5 o'clock for that. And, next weekend, Ultimate Sewing Store is having their open house, and that's when they have all their classes you can sign up for. And basically I'll be camping out at the door before they open. Apparently I'm not the only one that sort of camps out there because they can't handle a whole lot of people in one class. And as I've said before, there's a lot of classes I think I want to take. So that's next weekend too. And no, next weekend is not Mother's Day, it's the weekend after. So, and Laura says I'm going to that class. Yeah, so Laura, there you go. When we do Stephen and Walter Live that day, you can give a review of my teaching skills. You will be nice. You will be very nice. Laura and I used to work together, so anyways. Yeah. So anything else? I can't think of anything else to tell people. We're going on Tuesday because we have to get out of the house on Tuesday because the cleaning lady comes. It's her week to clean, and we don't like to be here. So Walter wants to go to a special Costco in Scarborough, which is a suburb of Toronto. And what's special about this Costco?
It's a business.
It's a business Costco. Okay, so
Yeah, I haven't been. I just want to.
You can get
business.
What, like sticky notes by the ton?
I guess.
I guess at a
By the
ridiculous
pallet,
price.
I guess.
Anita says next Saturday is citywide garbage sales here. Actually, next weekend would also be, next Saturday would be International Scrapbooking Day, too.
Isn't every day International Scrapbooking Day?
Yeah, it probably is. And then Laura says, yeah, I know laugh out loud, I know all about your teaching skills. I hope you said that with a smile on your face. Brenda says, Stephen and Walter crafting together?
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet. Okay, a couple of reasons. There's the technical reason. Still have to figure out how we're going to do it. Whether we do it live, which I think
might be fun.
Priceless, live. But I have to figure out the camera work because my technology.
Well, go downstairs on your table, and then you plan out something that I'm supposed to do. So.
Well, I figured what we could do is we just take one of Mike Deacon's challenges. I haven't done the April challenge yet, and it's going into May now with it. And we assemble all of our stuff we think we might use. You go through my stash and figure out for all the stuff.
Well, I'm going to have to get you to sort of help me with stuff.
Don't work that way.
I'm going to say, I've got this idea to do something. And you have to tell me, because I don't know exactly what all the art supplies do.
Oh, isn't that a shame? Oh, cry me a river. No, yeah, okay. Well,
unless you get me to do something like jelly printing or something like that.
Yeah, well, that might be maybe. Well, we'll have to think about when the time to do that because if we do it on a regular Stephen and Walter live, next weekend might not be the best time to do it because I'll be teaching all day and I'll be tired out of all that kind of stuff, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, we could do a special live.
Well, we can do a special live, too. Problem is when you do a special live, well, it doesn't matter how many people can come on the live one. Somebody can come on whenever we do it. It'll still be rebroadcasted, so you see it. Okay, we'll think about that, Brenda. All right, we'll get on to it. The other reason I was going to say wasn't technical is his mood. Because you'll say, I don't want to do that now. Oh, cry me a river.
I'll do it.
Yeah. You say that now in front of all these people, but just like my mother, as soon as they go away, you'll be your own nasty self again. So,
I'm not nasty. You're nasty.
Oh, I'm not nasty. You're nasty. I learned how to be nasty from you. Marie says, have the same items and both come up with something. Yeah, thought about that too.
That's a possibility, yeah.
But I don't want his to be better than mine.
Well, that might not be. You got more experience
yeah.
than me. I don't have any experience.
Yeah. Every time I've done those art attack things, when people have come over and then you look at yours and fart, yours is better than mine. Idiot. And of course, Walter is always a gracious winner. I won. I'm better than you. Yeah, this is a side you guys don't see. Yeah, you can't trust the Dutch. Anita says, you guys cracked me up. And Julie says, that's why we watch. Laugh out loud. Yeah, well, it would be kind of, it would be funny.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah, well, fine. We will do that. So watch for an announcement. You'll probably only get the announcement minutes before it goes on. I don't know. Or maybe not.
I will do things that are like things that you won't necessarily do.
Oh, that's so true about so many things. But we're talking art here. Okay. So,
no, but I meant
what?
like that one that ink thing that we did that time.
The alcohol ink.
Yeah, well, you were telling me to blow it around. It wasn't working, so I just started moving it around with my fingers, which I wasn't supposed to do.
No.
But it came out good.
Yeah. Yeah. One of those kids in the back of the class I'd like to chop off the hands on, but yeah, a little prick. But whatever. But anyways, okay. Well, all right. We'll seriously see what we can do about that and put that together. And yeah, I can't think of anything else to talk about today. Tomorrow, my vlog. Next Sunday, remember, we'll be on an hour later. And yeah, there'll probably be some other videos I may get up this week. I don't know. Maybe some more idiot quilter kind of thing. We'll see what goes on. So anyways, thanks everybody for joining us today. And I hope you have a good rest of the day. And Nairi, I saw you come on there and you were having brekkie. So hi Nairi, I forgot to say hello to you. So okay, have a good week. Mm-hmm. We'll see you probably next Sunday, 5 o'clock then. Okay, our time. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.